Donald Trump is absolutely unhinged, and he is plunging America straight down the toilet. Not only is Trump delusional, but he's facing blow after blow. That's right, the US Senate has just dropped an explosive and devastating bombshell on Donald Trump, and it has his entire administration absolutely panicking. Now, first of all, let's not pretend that Trump's mental issues are somehow a secret. People spend so much time yapping about Biden when in reality, Trump is now the president and he is showing countless signs of mental decline.
Even if you're saying that there was a mentally deficient Joe Biden, I know that he absolutely had a mental acuity that is supreme when it comes to comparing him to Donald Trump, because at least he kept good people around him. He kept people that would keep us safe in this country. He kept people that would make sure that even as tensions were rising all around the world, that we were keeping those tempered. He was able to understand with his level of mental acuity who our friends were. He was not getting us into unwarranted tariff wars and things like that. So even if we want to say, which I refuse to accept, that Joe Biden was mentally deficient, let me tell you something. His mental deficiency is still 1,000 times better than what we currently have. And so, I just wish that ultimately this country would judge each of our leaders with the same measuring stick. We do not.
Of course, Donald Trump is also being ridiculed repeatedly on live TV.
If Donald Trump gets dementia, how will we know? Donald Trump's mental decline, which is more and more obvious, started from such a low level of mental processing power that it's hard to track his decline. It's from low to lower. When Donald Trump asks himself out loud in public if he is allowed to appoint himself chair of the Federal Reserve. Now, it may be tiresome to hear, but we must not grow weary of making the point that no other president was ever capable of saying anything as stupid or as indicative of dementia as that.
I think it was going to be 2 weeks until Trump gave us his health care plan that was going to be so much better than Obama's. And I believe it was going to be 2 weeks until we had infrastructure. I mean, there's a 2-week theme here, which basically translates into this is a guy who doesn't know what to do or how to do it.
But none of the mockery shook Donald Trump quite like the US Senate did. That's right, the Senate just dropped a devastating bombshell on Donald Trump. Take a look.
The Senate just delivered a devastating blow to Donald Trump's economic agenda, tearing apart his so-called big, beautiful bill and leaving Republican leadership reeling. In a surprise ruling, the Senate parliamentarian determined that major portions of the bill broke long-standing Senate rules and would have to be stripped out if Republicans want to pass it through budget reconciliation. And what exactly was removed? Some of the most extreme and dangerous provisions, parts of the bill that critics say would have hurt ordinary Americans while rewarding billionaires and big corporations. One provision would have completely shut down the agency that protects people from scams by banks, credit card companies, and payday lenders. Another would have slashed support for the very workers who help keep the financial system stable. It even targeted climate protections, gutting clean air rules and letting polluters off the hook. And in a bizarre twist, the bill included language to punish the military if it didn't submit paperwork on time, something lawmakers from both parties quietly admitted made no sense. Senator Elizabeth Warren called the ruling a huge win for consumers and for basic sanity, adding, "This bill was a reckless, dangerous attack on working families. It would have let powerful corporations cheat and pollute without consequences. Democrats fought back, and we're not done fighting." Senator Jeff Merkley echoed that sentiment, saying, "As much as Senate Republicans would prefer to throw out the rule book and advance their families' lose and billionaires win agenda, there are rules that must be followed, and Democrats are making sure they are." Outside Capitol Hill, progressive groups cheered the decision. The advocacy group Public Citizen said in a statement, "Trump's bill was a Trojan horse for corporate greed. Stripping out these provisions is a victory for every American who doesn't want to be scammed, poisoned, or ignored by their own government." Even some moderate Republicans have gone silent in the wake of the ruling, avoiding questions about the bill's future. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, who would have the power to overrule the parliamentarian, has already signaled he likely won't. Doing so would set a dangerous precedent that could be used against Republicans in the future. The backlash to Trump's bill was already fierce, with public opinion polls showing strong opposition from across the political spectrum. Critics have called it one of the most unpopular economic proposals in recent memory, an attempt to gut consumer protections, weaken environmental safeguards, and dismantle financial oversight, all while offering massive giveaways to the ultra-wealthy. With the ruling, the bill's most dangerous parts are now dead, at least for now. But the fight isn't over. Democrats warn that if even a watered-down version of this legislation passes, it could still do serious damage. The good news is we've stopped some of the worst parts, said Warren. The bad news? Trump and his allies will be back, and we have to stay ready.
Ooh, this is brutal news for Donald Trump. This is amazing news for America. The Republicans really do have an agenda where families lose and billionaires win. It's despicable, deplorable, it's Trump.